Hi, I'm Laya, and for as long as I can remember, I've always loved being in front of a camera, or behind the camera, or anywhere near, really. I was the kind of kid that would always want to seek the attention of my dad whenever I saw him pull out the camera, and I would always ask him to let me record. I was completely fascinated by the way that I could see my own self and my surroundings through the screen. I've grown a lot since then, but if this little girl and I have something in common, is that my love for seeing the world and telling stories through the lens still lasts to this day. 3 years ago, I started a journey that would bring me the best experiences of my life, and it would take me a little bit closer to my goal of moving to Los Angeles to do what I feel like I was meant to do. So at 17 years old, I packed my things. Maybe I packed a little more than I should have. I left home and I moved to America. And now, I'm here to tell you my story. But first, we need to start from the beginning. It all starts with 2 tests, the TOEFL and the SATs, which are American tests that no one really helps you to study for and you're kinda lost while studying for them, but they are really not that hard. Coaches started to notice me and I got a scholarship. After that, I had to sign an unbelievable amount of paperwork. Then, I had to travel to Madrid to get even more paperwork done. And spending an amount of money that I clearly didn't have, and after the longest flight ever, I got my overweight suitcase and entered the US ready to see what life had in store for me. And fate brought me here. Who wouldn't want to change the sun, the beach, and a cold beer with friends for, well, this?
It's been a record white Christmas in Erie, Pennsylvania. The National Weather Service says a winter snowstorm that began midnight on Christmas Day had dropped 54.5 inches of snow by late Tuesday morning.
Looks fun, huh? I must admit, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to practice and looking through the window and seeing that you literally have to walk through a snowstorm to get to practice, it's not too motivating. However, whether it snows, rains, or the sun is shining, Erie has somewhat of a special charm. Before I left home, I discovered on YouTube a channel run by these 4 guys, Matt, Thomas, Omar, and Darren. They call themselves Yes Theory, and their videos are based on relying on the kindness and spontaneity of strangers to live unforgettable experiences that can create lifetime relationships. Their main motto is seek discomfort. And they are right, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. As much of a topic as it sounds, I couldn't express it better. You limit yourself when you focus on the what-ifs. When you spend more time coming up with excuses than actually trying, you're missing out on a chance to grow a little more than you did yesterday. You must always try to expand the limits that we're setting for ourselves. I've never been good at meeting strangers. I like hanging out with the people I know, and that's enough for me. But when you leave everything you've ever known before, you are forced to rely on the strangers that surround you until they become family instead. I had never left my comfort zone before, not like this. I had grown up in the same neighborhood with the same best friends since I was 3 years old, and I played in the same soccer club for over 14 years. I was terrified to leave because there were so many things that could go wrong, but there was something about it that I just knew it would be worth it, and I was right. I've been lucky enough to find a family on the other side of the ocean from everywhere around the world. Got to know so many different cultures, discussed with people with very different point of views. I got to know life stories that are very different than mine, and that has helped me grow. But regardless of how much I do love my college life and the people in it, of course I do not forget about my friends on the other side of the ocean. The ones that have stuck around since I was 3 years old. The ones that I met when I was in high school, all grown up and going through the weirdest and most confusing part of my life. The ones that I met when I thought that I was the only weird manly girl in elementary school that loved to kick the soccer ball around, but they made me realize I wasn't alone. How could I forget about any of them? How could I forget about the most important people in my life? My brother, my mom, my dad, my uncle, my grandparents. There's simply no way. I confess, there is no day that goes by that I don't think about them. They have always had my back, and if anyone is responsible for me being in the United States, living my dream, going through all of these unforgettable experiences, and growing every day a little bit more, it's them. Sometimes, however, I wish they were a tangible part of this dream. But believe me when I say that, as much as this feeling is the worst, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Since I came here for the first time, I lived experiences that I never thought I would. I went on a road trip from the north of the US to New Orleans, I traveled to Cuba, I got to spend holidays with families that have accepted me as part of their own, and all of this comes from stepping out of your comfort zone in the first place. Every day that goes by, I'm more convinced that I did the right thing by making the decision of leaving. And soon, I'll be faced with another life-changing decision that I know now I'll make with a whole different perception than I would if I had never left home. And who knows where I'll end up? Certainty in life is really hard to find. But if there's one thing I know for sure, is that my story has just begun.